Hey, it's Perry from Gear Diary, and I'm honored to be here with Dan Richer, chef and owner of Razza in Jersey City. It's great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
3-time James Beard TV finalist. Is that?
I never looked at myself as a chef or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, accolades are great, but my commitment remains with making a great product and my team.
So, what led you here to make great pizza? How did you get here? Did you have anybody when you were growing up that you loved and inspired you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up in the '80s and early '90s, and pizza culture in the New York, New Jersey area is phenomenal. Sure. Every place you went to was an amazing slice of pizza. And then I went to Rutgers, studied agriculture for the first 3 years of my college career, and then ended up graduating from Rutgers, not in agriculture. I flew to Italy, tasted this most amazing food that I've ever tasted.
I read that you skipped your graduation to fly to Italy.
Yeah. I traveled the country top to bottom, tasted so much really amazing food that I've never tasted in New Jersey. All the Italian restaurants that we have in New Jersey, I never tasted anything as delicious as what I tasted in Italy that first trip. Right. Blew my mind, and I just wanted to know why. It was that curiosity that just made me want to start learning how to cook. Mm-hmm. And I remember it so vividly. As soon as I got back from that first trip to Italy, I just started cooking tomato sauce because I wanted to know why that one thing that was so simple was so much better there than it is here. And I come to learn over the past 20-something years that it's all about ingredients and technique.
Okay.
So you find the best ingredients, whether it's tomato, whether it's an olive oil or a flour, whatever it may be. Find the best ingredients and you learn how to properly treat it through high-level techniques. And American pizza is completely different than Italian pizza. And I think there are fundamental differences that need to be addressed and understood about American pizza versus
Can we go into that a little
Italian
bit?
pizza or Neapolitan pizza. Yeah, sure.
Everybody thinks of that Neapolitan pizza as the pizza, right? But in the United States, we have our own pizza. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so in the early 1900s, when pizza became popular in the United States, pizza became crispier, larger, and shareable.
Right.
And since then, there's been lots of evolution in terms of fuel source, moving from coal ovens to gas deck ovens
and electric.
And now electric is all the rage. And now we see a lot of wood-fired ovens all over the place. There's one in every town. It's a separate food group. Neapolitan pizza and American pizza are just two very different things. We're fundamentally looking for different things. Our pizza is shareable. It's cut, and most times it's meant to be eaten with your hands, and it should be crispy. And in Naples, they're not looking for those characteristics.
Can you tell us where you source some of your ingredients? Do you try to stay local, or do you go to California?
Yeah, we try to stay local, but it kind of pains me to say this, but just because it's local doesn't mean it's good.
Sure.
It really comes down to tasting a lot of different products and really identifying what the individual characteristics of that ingredient are and what you appreciate about it. So in terms of tomatoes, we do a tomato tasting every year. It's a double-blind taste test, and we have an evaluation system for these tomatoes that we work off of it.
What are your top home chef tips for pizza?
All right.
Because I make a lot of pizza.
Right. So if one has the time and energy and dedication to make your own dough, I always start with the Lahey Recipe from Sullivan Street Bakery. It's an amazing recipe. It's so simple. It's so easy. It's very user-friendly.
Love it. Yeah.
It's really phenomenal. It's just fantastic. So always start with that. Once you can really nail that and master that formula in timing and temperature, then you move on to the tartine recipe. And the tartine book is just, again, revolutionary. It's all about natural fermentation, and and then from there, I mean, that's like you can spend 10 years practicing that type of
pizza.
recipe.
I think you mentioned me earlier. Pizza is really flatbread with toppings on it, right?
Yeah.
The dough is so important.
In terms of flour, I'm a big proponent of buying one consistent, reliable flour like King Arthur or even Hecker's, something that's easily accessible in the store, something that is very consistent, very reliable, so that you can work on your technique. So you can work on the technique of how much pressure to use with your hands in order to open the dough without degassing it, or how long to bake it. You can't learn your oven if your flour is super unreliable and inconsistent, or if you degas too much with your hands, that's changing a variable, right? So, two pizzas with different amounts of pressure exerted from your fingers will bake differently.
I never thought about this.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I never thought about this.
I don't think you need a wood-fired oven to make really great pizza. Actually, I know it's a fact. You don't need a wood-fired oven to make great pizza. It's just a fact. The bake is a large chunk of it, but the fuel source is totally adaptable to any oven.
Pizza is the perfect combination of science and art, right? Pizza or food in general. But
it is. It's funny. Pizza is seen as such a lowbrow food because it's accessible, which I love about it. It's one of our core values at this restaurant is to keep it accessible to everyone. Mm-hmm. So, there's nothing on our menu of over $18, which for a small restaurant is really difficult. But pizza is such a lowbrow food. But I think it's one of the most intricate and most difficult culinary endeavors that a cook or a chef can embark upon. We have to be masters of fermentation. We have to be cheese makers. We have to be cooks, and we have to get it to all line up at the right time, at the right temperature, and get it to bake at the same time in an oven. It's not like a composed dish where you buy a piece of meat, you stick it under the broiler, cook it to the right temperature, cook your vegetables separate, organize it on the plate nice and pretty for a picture, and then charge $30 for it.
Right. Well, you need a meat thermometer.
Yeah. Which is great. Nothing.
Sure. I love a good steak.
I love great steak, but there's so much less skill involved in cooking a steak than there is in pizza.
You heard that. What do you look for in a pizza oven? Like, what are the elements of a pizza oven that helps you make great pizza?
Oven has to get hot. That's the most important part. If it's not hot enough, you're not going to get really great oven spring. And if you don't have good oven spring, you're not going to get great texture. Oven spring and texture are one and the same. So if you don't have an oven hot enough, it's not going to be great. And that's one of the big challenges with a home oven is that you don't really get hot enough. Don't get nearly as hot as a wood-fired oven, which rightfully so.
Yeah.
In a home oven, it needs to be safe.
Yeah, safety.
Safety is really important. But you can make great pizza on a grill outside because it gets super hot. You have to know how to manage that. You can't get too hot, otherwise you'll burn it. But as long as the oven gets hot enough, you're good. And the ability to retain the heat is also really important. So you want a really thick, either stone or steel or some kind of material that's gonna hold its heat.
So we've got the Breville Smart Oven Pizzaiolo here. What are your thoughts on it? You've been cooking on it for a while. You were testing out your early builds. How's your success been making pizzas in this?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. I get better success out of this than I do my home oven. To confess, I don't make that much pizza at home.
You make a lot here.
I make a lot here, so when I'm at home, I don't make too much.
Right.
I do make a decent amount, but not
Your family like, oh, pizza again? Come on.
Definitely not. my kids could definitely eat pizza pretty much every day. But yeah, I mean, it gets hot enough, which is really important. It recovers its heat rather quickly. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
It could be a centerpiece of any kitchen.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. If you got the counter space for it, it's awesome.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the features?
Yeah, so it's nice and simple. You got 2 dials, 3 dials actually. So this is, there's an outer ring of an element to concentrate the heat just on the crust.
Okay.
That's what this dial does. This dial is specifically for the style of pizza.
Okay.
And then this one is a timer, but the best feature about this machine is that it has a hack mode where you can, if you turn it off and then push this button and turn this dial, it puts it into manual mode.
Oh, okay.
And then this dial is controls the floor heat, and this dial controls the top element.
Oh wow! So you can control the temperature at the bottom pizza and the top of the pizza to make sure the top doesn't get too overdone before the bottom gets
vice versa.
Crisp. Yeah.
I like crispy pizza.
Yeah.
I want an audible crunch when I bite into it. I want to be able to pick it up with my hands and have there be no tip sag.
Sure.
I don't want it to be wet and soggy and soft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a significantly longer bake time. With this, we go somewhere just under 4 minutes or so. I've only timed it a couple times. I try to look at the pizza and not the clock, typically.
I'm starting to get hungry.
Yeah.
One more question.
Bring it.
Before we start making pizza. Close your eyes. Imagine your dream pizza. What's on there? What's on that pizza?
It's a margarita pizza.
Okay.
A plain pizza.
All right.
I wish that I could only make a margarita pizza.
Okay.
I think it's and you know, a bunch of different variations of it. For me, it's flatbread with condiment, and there's no more classic condiment than tomato sauce and cheese.
Yeah. Thanks. I think we need to make some pizza now.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much for having us. We've just been picking out some pizza, some of the best pizza I've ever had. Can you kind of explain to us on the slice what the Breville does that your typical home pizza oven just doesn't do?
Yeah, I mean, number one, it gets hot enough to produce really good oven spring. So when I evaluate any pizza, the 4 main things that I'm looking for are the oven spring, which is the rapid activity of the yeast, and that'll tell you a lot about the texture, how it's going to feel in your mouth.
Right.
I'm looking for the way the crust has been browned. That'll tell you a lot about the bake. And I'm also looking for the way the cheese melts, or does it not melt? I've had a lot of pizza where it's been cooked so fast that it doesn't fully melt. I'm looking for something that fully melts and then has just a few areas of gentle browning on the cheese. And then I'm also looking for the way that the sauce reduces in the oven. And it tells you a lot about the tomato, it tells you a lot about the moisture content of the tomato, and it tells you a lot about the bake time. And I'm looking for a velvety, smooth, and still moist tomato sauce.
Right.
I thoroughly dislike a pasty, super acidic, over-reduced tomato sauce on my
No, I mean
pizza.
the tomato is the star of the sauce. I mean, you can really taste that coming through. It's great consistency. The dough the texture was amazing. So thank you. I really appreciate you having us. And
Good to be here.
thank you very much. Appreciate it.